I lost my job. When my husband heard the news, his shoulders slumped in disappointment. Wait, isn't this actually good news? I said, we still have a shot at turning things around. Just watch. We'll find a way to win this battle without that crooked, bald-headed president. I'm Rachel. The other day, when the microwave beeped, I instinctively said, yes, yes, and my daughter gave me a weird look. She said, Mom, are you talking to the microwave? I'm 40, and I guess I've picked up some odd habits. But with devices like Alexa and Siri around, talking to machines doesn't seem so strange anymore. It was a bit embarrassing, but honestly, compared to some of the incredibly awkward situations I've been in before, chatting with a microwave is nothing. This takes me back about 15 years. I was working at a small but prestigious company, known for its expertise in developing computer security programs. We had a solid reputation and earned the trust of major corporations. Back then, the internet wasn't as widespread, and the field of security had a lot of potential for growth. Our company was expected to thrive in that space. It was during this time that I met Daniel, who later became my husband. We worked together and eventually got married. But even before we tied the knot, I had to deal with unwanted attention from the company president. Growing up, I was often complimented on my looks, and even in our neighborhood, I was well regarded. I didn't struggle with weight, and I grew up smoothly, which led to photographers often asking to take my picture. While it was flattering, it also attracted some unwanted attention from men, including the president. Because of this, I've never been fond of my own appearance. Even a simple good morning from me was met with over-the-top praise from him. He'd tell everyone, she's such a good girl, always greeting me with a smile. Back then, he was 48, bald, with a few remaining strands of hair plastered to his forehead. Despite that, he seemed satisfied, showing no intention of fixing it. He wasn't particularly pleasant, and he was arrogant towards disliked employees while being kind to those who brought benefits to the company or pretty girls. He had an autocratic nature, creating divides among the employees, sometimes for better, often for worse. The president's actions made me uneasy, but he was my boss, and I had to find a way to work with him. But how do you handle a man who thinks you're interested in him just because you report to him? I wasn't sure, so I tried to keep my distance in a polite but firm way. Things took a turn when I announced my engagement. The president started inviting me to meals more persistently. Our office romance had been a secret, but those who knew about my relationship with my husband were aware. The president, however, seemed completely oblivious. He ramped up his efforts, unaware that I was already committed. At first, it was just catching his gaze or hearing from others that he liked me. I thought I could handle it discreetly. But it became a real problem when he escalated his advances. How about a private Italian restaurant? Just the two of us, no reservations needed. I offered to treat you last time, but you said you couldn't afford it. I bought wine from your birth year. Let's drink it at my place. It won't cost you a thing. You don't like alcohol. There's a bar with sweet cocktails. We can reserve a private room. It's cozy in the back. So when are you going to go out with me alone? Despite repeatedly turning down his invitations, he wouldn't give up. He convinced himself that I knew about his feelings and was teasing him on purpose, even calling me a little devil. Any invitation was too transparent, with an obvious intention to get me drunk and take me to a private room. It was impossible to consider it as part of work if he suggested going to a crowded park in front of a police station and invited me to drink water while trying to lick salt. Although I dreaded it, considering it as part of my job, attending those dinners wasn't completely out of the question. But would I actually go? No. Did he catch on? No chance. His persistence finally wore me down one day, and I blurted out, "Please give up on me. It's bothering me." Until then, I had been careful not to express my true feelings, worried that acknowledging his interest would only complicate things. But on that day, the stress got the best of me, and my feelings slipped out. As expected, the president smiled and put his hand around my waist. "You knew all along and were just teasing me, weren't you, you little devil?" His touch made my skin crawl, and without thinking, I pushed him away and ran out of the room. My husband had been concerned about the president's behavior for a while and suggested I quit my job. But I was stubborn. I wanted to stay at the company to be close to my husband and watch him work. He was the top technician, developing a new system that could double our performance once completed. I wanted to keep supporting him and see his hard work pay off. The idea of quitting and finding a new job elsewhere didn't appeal to me. But it seemed the time had come to end this situation. The next day, I handed in my resignation letter, addressed to the president. Last night, I discussed everything with my husband, and he strongly urged me to resign. So, with a determined mindset, I went to confront the president. But he refused to accept my resignation. He tried to keep me by offering better conditions, higher salary, a promotion, anything to make me stay. If only he had said, "I'll step down so you can stay," I would have gladly remained at the company. Instead, he smirked and said, "What's the issue? I can even make you the president's wife if you want." His words made me uncomfortable, though I couldn't quite understand why. "I've told you before, I'm already married. I'm tired of your dinner invitations and you putting your hands on my waist." Without thinking, I let my true feelings slip. The president responded with, "I see. So it's his fault, huh? But you really love me, right? I get it. We never shared our feelings before, and you felt inferior because I'm the president. That's why you married someone else, to pull away." "No, that's not true at all." I insisted. "There's no need to be embarrassed. I understand everything." He acted like my marriage was some pity move, and he had endured his jealousy out of kindness because of it. "But if that's the case, your husband is unnecessary. Why is this conversation going in this direction? I never saw you that way," I thought. All right. I fully understand your feelings. In that case, I'll accept your resignation. The future president's wife doesn't need to do the work of an ordinary employee. I'll let you enjoy a more comfortable life." With that, he pocketed my resignation letter and left the office. It was hopeless. Our communication was completely broken. Why is he blaming my husband? How did that bald guy twist things around? Wait a minute, could this actually be a stroke of luck for both me and my husband? We just got married, and now I'm suddenly unemployed. My husband smiled, a bit puzzled, and asked, "What's going on?" I grinned and said, "Well, congratulations might be in order." "Wait, the system you were developing, it was meant to identify potential customers for the company, right?" "Yeah, but without you there, the data won't get updated. It's pointless to rely on old customer info. But the groundwork is done, and someone else could pick it up and update it within 6 months, right?" "Sure, but that's not the point. How about using those 6 months to start our own business?" "Huh." My husband was surprised by my suggestion, but then he laughed and said, "You're pretty clever. I like it. We can work together again." And from that moment, he moved quickly. Within 30 days of my firing, just as the president had planned, we used our savings to start our own business. During that time, my husband reached out to the top talent from our previous company. "If you're interested, how about joining our new company?" It was basically headhunting. The bald president, who couldn't even use a computer, was clueless about the struggles on the front lines and often demanded the impossible. So other employees said, if there's a company where you, who understand the job better than anyone, are in charge, we're in. Almost all the employees decided to join my husband's company, leaving behind only the upper management favored by the president. Had I stayed, I might have been among them. Following my suggestion, my husband developed a new and improved system, building on the one he had created at the old company. He used his connections from the previous job to secure contracts and even developed 2 new security systems that were quickly sold to other companies. In a field with few competitors, companies naturally gravitated toward those producing the best products. The demand for our services grew rapidly, and within 4 years, my husband's company became the industry leader. With the company's success soaring, the employees were on cloud 9, until one day that president showed up at our office. My husband couldn't ignore him and reluctantly led him to his workspace, which doubled as the president's office. I followed, worried about what might happen. "What can I do for you?" my husband asked. The president immediately bowed with tears in his eyes and apologized. "I've watched your success over the past few years. I realize now that Rachel really disliked me. I deeply regret my actions." He explained that his company was in financial trouble, short on staff, forcing excessive overtime on employees, and unable to pay their wages. At this point, an apology didn't matter to me. My husband is now earning far more than he did at the previous company, and he's been able to increase the salaries of our employees as well. No matter what the president said, we're happy now, so it's fine. I wasn't interested in his apology. It felt like a waste of time. "If that's all you came for, could you leave?" "We're busy," my husband said. In response, the president got off the sofa, sat on the floor, and pleaded, "Please come back to our company. With you, we could recover. Please help us." He bowed, rubbing his forehead on the floor, but my husband quietly shook his head. "Since the day I was fired, I've no longer been an employee of your company. I have a responsibility to protect my own employees, so I can't go back. Please do something. I beg you. If you resign as president and let your company merge with ours, that's fine." "What? Absolutely not. Are you seriously asking me to step down as president?" "Of course. What you did to my wife was a blatant violation of the dignity of female employees. And in today's society, overworking employees is condemned. It's only fair. What happened to me would now be seen as completely unacceptable, but back then, it was a gray area. It was a time when interpretations varied. Even if someone claimed they were inappropriately touched, they'd hear excuses like "no harm intended." It was just an accident, or be labeled as overly sensitive, which often led to defamation or even getting fired. The situation with overtime was a different story, though. Back then, ignoring labor laws and allowing excessive overtime was common. But with changes in the law and the growing public awareness that long working hours were harmful, the president's actions could now be severely punished if reported. At first, the president kept pleading, "Isn't there any other option? Please don't make me resign." But once he realized the seriousness of his actions, he understood that staying in his position was no longer an option. The president stepped down, and my husband absorbed and merged his company with ours. We took in all the employees, and the unpaid overtime was settled since our company was thriving. It actually turned out to be a relief. The wages at the president's company were low, so the overtime pay wasn't a significant amount. "We won," I said. "When you suggested starting a business after I lost my job, I never imagined we'd grow enough to overtake the president's company." "I always believed in your ability," my husband replied. "Really? Or are you just trying to flatter me?" "No way. You've got me." As we talked, I felt a deep sense of relief that everything had worked out. Later, I found out that someone had leaked the conversations from the president's office, the ones I never shared with anyone. The president's embarrassing behavior, where he used to flirt with me, became public knowledge. Since our company was small, it didn't make the TV news, but it did get reported in the local newspapers, including the overtime issues. It turns out more people read local papers than watch TV or read big-name magazines. The president became a laughingstock in the community, and kids started a game called Playing President. In this bizarre game, they'd pretend to flirt persistently with a reluctant girl. If the president saw it, he'd be mortified and probably wish he could disappear. The president was divorced and had a daughter in middle school. When this game caught on, his daughter heard about her father's actions and nearly ran away from home. For a sensitive teenage girl, having such a creepy father must have been awful. It's a clear case of karma. Having lost both his company and his daughter, the president couldn't find a decent job because he couldn't even use a computer. Now he's working as an office assistant in a local factory, struggling with basic desk work. Ironically, he's now responsible for serving tea to the female president. The man who once loudly demanded, "Hey, bring me some tea," is now the one pouring it. He probably never imagined he'd end up as a tea server. The former employees who joined our company now laugh at the president's fall from grace. There's no sympathy for him. On the other hand, my husband and I were blessed with 2 children. Our daughter is talkative and loves to tease me when I bow my head during a call or respond to the microwave. She's cheeky but adorable. Our son, a year younger, seems to have inherited his father's knack for computers. Even at his young age, he's already creating small programs. I'd say he has a bright future ahead. It would be great if he took over the company someday. But right now, he dreams of becoming a YouTuber, working for Uber Eats, or being a pizza delivery guy. Seriously, son, is there nothing else? Despite being constantly outsmarted by our kids, we enjoy